We're going to spend a bit more time understanding these APTs, or Advanced Persistent Threats. And here to help us is Colin Pennan. He's Regional Managing Director, South Asia of Checkpoint Software Technologies. Colin, these APTs or attacks have been described as sophisticated. Does that give us any clue as to who might have carried them out?
For these types of attack, it has to be somebody with a bit of money behind them, whether it be state-sponsored or an organisation or group that, as the word actually detains, advanced persistent attack, it means it's prolonged. It means a lot of research. It means really going after and targeting the actual victim at the time.
Okay. You know, in this particular incident, the two universities said that the students do not need to change their passwords to protect their data. Saying that, what does that tell us about the extent or even the severity of the attacks? Because, you know, once you have an attack, the first thing that comes to mind, I have to change my password. But in this instance, they didn't need to.
I think there's in Checkpoint, we actually look at a multi-level type of area of security. And that means not only from an end user point of view, but also the security ecosystem, whether it be mobile phones or whether it be endpoints or laptops that students are actually taking home, or it may be the devices of the universities that they actually are running at the same time. So if the attack, and certainly the Ministry of Education and CSA are certainly doing their job and looking at the situation in detail, it may mean that they've found an area of specific interest that may not involve that of the academic research and of the actual students.
Well, it's a tough one for universities and the like for this, because on the one hand, they want to balance openness or have openness and collaboration with other sort of institutions, but they've got to sort of weigh this up against security, don't they?
Yeah, it's a fine line of providing the benefits of security like an organisation, but at the same time that of the flexibility in research for academics. And certainly that may be one of the entry points. We've seen, whether it be the University of Calgary as an example, where researchers were drawn to a specific website around information, users downloaded that information, and then their hard drives were encrypted with ransomware. The university actually then paid $20,000 for the ransomware to be decrypted.
Right. Okay, now, you know, before we continue with this discussion, let's draw your attention to the fact that there's been an increase in the number of cyber attacks in Singapore since 2013. And prior to this incident, the most recent one happened in February this year. So that's when the Ministry of Defence's internal data system, INET, was hit by a cyber attack. Personal details of about 850 national servicemen and MINDEF employees were stolen. In 2014, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs IT system was breached. Steps were taken to isolate the affected devices and strengthen the network. And then in the same year, a page on SMRT's website was hacked. Now, visitors who tried to access it were directed to a site with the heading, "Hacked by VoterSign Tim." Earlier that year, SingPass, which allows users to access various government e-services, that was also hacked, and it was reported that more than 1,500 user IDs and passwords were accessed. In 2013, a section of the Prime Minister's office website was compromised. A 28-year-old Singaporean man was convicted and jailed for 2 months. So the question then, Colin, is how long do such attacks actually stay latent before they're even detected?
It's been found that advanced persistent threats sometimes go over 200 days without being known. So the infection may occur and the organisation may not know of the actual actors being within the actual network.
So you can actually, be hacked, could already have been hacked, but it's just not showing itself up. So it's just staying in the system.
That's right. And usually that's what you want to do as part of a reconnaissance phase of an attack, is actually to try and find out as much information before you show yourself to any of the actual devices that are looking for those types of attacks. So this is what we're called lateral movement. And that may mean that you find other universities that are connected to that network. In Australia, the Bureau of Meteorology was attacked, and the lateral movement went through to various different government agencies. So certainly advanced persistent attacks are designed to be obviously not detected.
Authorities have sort of been very cautious as to how much information they want to reveal about this attack. Explain sort of the understanding of what that is. Presumably, it's to prevent hackers from knowing quite how much the authorities know.
Oh, yes, and certainly I go back to the Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore, probably the best in the region. There's no doubt about that from a coordination point of view and also understanding of the types of attack coming into Singapore and also going out of Singapore. The ability to actually divulge information is just like a normal investigation. There's various times throughout the investigation, usually at the end, when you can actually divulge a bit more information. But as it is a matter of operational security, you don't want to tell too much at the moment until your further investigations have been done.
Okay, so then how do actually hackers up their game, knowing that you are constantly trying to prevent them? So it's like it's almost like a game. I'm trying to find out whether you're already in my system or not, and at the same time, how do I ensure that you don't know I'm in your system?
And I guess this is the complacency that a lot of corporations fall into. They feel that they've invested in a traditional next generation firewall, but we've seen the attack vectors being that of mobile devices or cloud, for example, and we're starting to see that it takes a lot of time to actually understand and build up the understanding of that advanced persistent threat. Checkpoint, we believe, go back to that point of prevention. And instead of actually trying to clean up internally after the situation has occurred, to actually prevent it actually occurring.
Right. So we just have to be very, very careful. But thank you so much for coming in and sharing your insights with us. We've been speaking to Colin Pennan there. He's Regional Managing Director, South Asia of Checkpoint Software Technologies.